Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk Broncos, where I think we're going to talk a little Broncos football. Are you guys ready?
Let's go.
Fantastic. You can catch us every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Not Zach, though. He just left the pod.
we have a fan right in the nose.
We do. It was actually wind blowing my hair, and I really appreciated it.
I'm sorry, we had to do that. That I could hear the and I was gonna go all show and had to fix it off the bat. You're welcome, audio listeners.
You're great. Yeah, you don't have to listen to that, but I no longer have wind.
Rate the podcast 5 stars and go, thank you, Zach. You are the best.
I don't think we can, push the narrative.
There's not going to be a single person that does that bold prediction.
Good preview for tomorrow's show.
Yeah, now you know what we're doing tomorrow. But tonight we're actually having a really fun show predicting how the Denver Broncos will do this season. Kind of a preview of the antics that we'll be up to for the rest of the season, what we'll be looking forward to. And that's what we do here. It's going to be primarily Broncos based. I don't want to waste any time, but how are you folks doing?
I'm doing really well. I mean, I just drank a Monster Energy and I'm feeling like ridiculously energized right now. I really need it.
At 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. This is a bold
copious amounts of caffeine flowing through your veins.
Yes. No sleep tonight for the pod. That's what I'm here.
No
Sacrifices.
Till Broncos.
Yeah.
We are just right around the corner from the first regular season game, inaugural Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. But before we get into that and preview that game, we thought we'd go through a couple of different awards for the Denver Broncos, basically how we think the year is going to play out, who's going to be the stars. I think that's going to be a really fun show. Without further ado, if you are in the Twitter chat right now, if you're watching over on Twitter, you got to hop on over to the YouTube stream chat or Facebook so you can get your questions and comments highlighted. We are live. We're in the Mile High Sports Studio. We were playing some, what were we playing earlier?
Mario Kart. Bree came back in the last moments, and Joey finished in last place.
All I'm going to say is we've played Mario Kart multiple times, and we've yet to record a pod after I lose.
Oh, great. So you're just
Superstition is crazy right now.
So this is going to be a bad pod?
Yeah, that's my prediction. I think you guys should let me win.
I can't guarantee that, and I honestly am not down with the sickness. So let's go ahead. Let's jump right into it and go with our MVP picks for the Denver Broncos. Who's your most valuable player this season?
I think it's clearly Russell Wilson.
Clearly.
It's not even a question because the quarterback position is that important, and the whole narrative will be on Russell Wilson's side. He's the big new piece for the Broncos.
Okay.
I don't see a way that if the Broncos are good, he's not the MVP. He has to be the MVP.
If the Broncos are bad, does the onus fall on Russell Wilson?
I think some of it will, yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I think that if the Broncos don't perform well, a lot of it will be because Russell Wilson didn't play good. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think Russell Wilson is going to come in and do his thing. My biggest worry about the Broncos is the division. But, yeah.
That's her?
Yeah, I love the pick of Russell Wilson for MVP. Sorry, I'm doing social media stuff on the back end. I love the pick of Russell Wilson for MVP. I went a little different just to spoil it here. Bree also went with Joey, Russell Wilson for MVP. I think it is the no-brainer pick. I just wanted us to not be boring and just same name all across the board, which is why I threw Javonte Williams out there, because I think he's going to be very valuable to this offense. I think he's going to open up a ton. I think the reason Russell Wilson's going to have a resurgent year is because defenses aren't going to be allowed to defend him the same way they were able to defend him the last 2 years in Seattle. And the reason that's the case is Javonte Williams in the run game. You cannot play light boxes consistently on early downs against this Broncos team. And if you do, Javonte Williams will happily eat you alive for 7 yards per carry.
Do you have an approximation of what you think his stats are going to look like this year?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'll say 1,300 yards, because I think with the new
even in a split back here, or do you think
1,200? I think it'll favor Javonte more and more as the season goes on, kind of like last year.
Okay.
I think Melvin Gordon's stock is up right now because, as we talked about on the show, what we see in training camp favors kind of vision, patience, the areas of the game where Melvin Gordon has an advantage. It certainly doesn't favor playing through contact, which I think is Javonte Williams' greatest strength.
Clearly his strength.
Yeah. So
breaking tackles all over the place for sure.
Yeah. And so I think it makes sense that right now that's become more of a split, because watching in training camp, Melvin Gordon's going to look better than he probably does in a normal game, and Javonte Williams is probably going to look worse than he does in a normal game. I think once the games start and the live bullets start flying, it'll become more a Javonte favored split. And I just think what Javonte's going to do to defenses, if he can prove the vision stuff, it's going to be awesome, because Javonte Williams was very productive last year despite facing 8-man boxes on like 35% of snaps. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the season, it was more than 50% of his snaps. You cannot do that anymore. And I think Javonte Williams against light boxes is such a recipe for success. And if you stack the box against Javonte Williams, Russell Wilson is going to eat you alive. And I think teams will prefer to allow the ground game to the explosive passing plays. And I think Javonte Williams is going to go off as a result.
That's
you're
it.
Gonna,
Yeah.
You're going to see a little bit of Mike Boone sprinkled in there as well. Joey, how do you think that takes away from Javonte Williams and his production, or does it at all?
I don't think it should. If anything, Mike Boone should be cutting in the Melvin Gordon's carries. That's just the way I view it. Javonte Williams is the future of the Broncos. You want him to continue to develop and get better. Melvin Gordon's on a 1-year contract. So if
he's old.
Exactly. So if you're going to have somebody eat into someone's carries, it should be Mike Boone eating into Melvin Gordon's carries. I will say this too. The Broncos, Russell Wilson is such a deep shot artist, right? Like he's literally one of the best ever with the deep shots at the quarterback position. And outside the numbers and different stuff like that. Now, the Broncos, they're one of those teams where it's like it would make a lot of sense for them to really want to establish the run, to open that type of stuff up more.
Yeah.
Because you're already limiting, like he's not a over the middle thrower. You're already taking away that part of the field. He's not good there. You want to
That's why you need a north-south running attack.
Exactly. You want to be able to open up things. You can't just have them sitting back.
And the other thing to that, I think kind of proving my point why maybe Javonte Williams will be the MVP. Look at what Rashad Penny did the last 4 or 5 weeks of last season when Russell Wilson was healthy.
Yeah.
He was, I want to pull up the numbers before I say this, but he was close to the most productive back in the NFL. He might have even been the top running back in the NFL in terms of production. That's a result that, like, we've seen Rashad Penny in the NFL for a few good seasons now. We know what he is. The reason he looked that good was because of how defenses were playing Russell Wilson. And I think we could see Javonte Williams, a much more talented player, experience greater success.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and I think we were close to unanimous in these decisions. I think we'll move to Offensive Player of the Year, where, again, I think we were all on the same board. Gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong. I went Courtland Sutton.
I went Sutton as well.
Yeah, I went. I did go Courtland Sutton.
But if you picked Russell Wilson the last one, would Javonte have won this one? Okay.
Yeah. If I went Wilson for MVP, I would have gone Javonte here. I get the argument for Sutton. I think he's going to pop off. I think the players of this offense are going to be Russell Wilson and Javonte Williams. And Sutton, I think, is going to be right there. I've been preaching about how what I've seen in training camp every day makes me very confident Broncos fans are getting 2019 Courtland Sutton back. But
like athletically,
I think Javonte Williams is just, athletic.
Can you touch on that a little bit? What you saw at a training camp that makes you think Sutton's just going to return to form, I guess?
The movement and the acrobatic catches. And maybe it's my foggy memory, I can't remember like a wow catch from Courtland Sutton's 2021 season.
Yeah.
Or like a wow moment. I saw it after the catch with him and his running ability, and also just like him diving all over the place and making diving grabs. Like, not even, of course, there was the one against Darby where it's over the top of someone, like those famous plays against the Browns and the Chargers. But even where like he was covered and he had to dive like sideways to create separation and make a one-handed grab, just like he looked more cat-like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
more
and that was the Courtland Sutton that I think got everyone so excited in 2019. I think he's going to be more like that. But I don't know. I think a lot of these receivers are going to go off, and I think the story of the passing game is going to be Russell Wilson. I think Javonte Williams emerges as, an elite running back from the second round in that Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor mold.
I think, when I'm looking at the Broncos roster, I have to disagree with you a little bit, just because for how important the running game is going to be. I already stated that with how awesome that is. Courtland Sutton with the passing game is going to be the main guy for Russell Wilson. I feel very confident in that.
There's a lot of talk about the chemistry that exists there between the two. And that proves positive. It's going to be really exciting to watch.
And Zach made a great point in what he was saying. One of Cortland Sutton's okay, so how I really noticed the athletic difference from last year to years prior before the injury was on those 50-50 balls, you could kind of maybe be like, maybe it wasn't just the ball wasn't going his way, right? Because they're 50-50 balls. It's like maybe that was just really good defense. You know, there's a whole different type of things there. But he was really underrated after the catch early in his career. That was an area where he was actually really good, I thought. I remember a Raiders game where it just felt like he caught 20 slants, it felt like, that entire time. And he was breaking tackles after. He was doing stuff like that at SMU. He caught a lot of screens and did stuff like that as well. And if we get that Cortland Sutton back, man, it's hard for me to believe that he won't be the MVP of this offense. If Russell Wilson's deep balls or Cortland Sutton's deep deep ability, that just feels like such a great marriage.
It's fair. And of course, there's the running back split and everything. I think both these are good picks. I've been a Javonte believer the whole time. And I really do think it's going to be I think he's going to be Russell Wilson's next Marshawn Lynch. I really think that's what he's going to be. And it's going to be beautiful.
Against Melvin Gordon a little bit.
No, my Melvin Gordon stuff has nothing to do with Melvin Gordon or him being in a running back room or him being in a running back room with Javonte Williams. It has everything to do with who he is and what all the data says about old running backs and running backs with 1,500 touches in their career.
You kind of walk that back a little bit, though.
Yeah, and I
do, at the jest of Dr. Nighthawk, I wanted to fight a little.
No, I think it's fair. I think he has. It's tough. I think he looked better in training camp than I expected. I think the cliff could very well still happen this season.
You heard it here first. The cliff is upcoming.
We saw he already suffered a foot contusion. Am I the only one that remembers that he's already suffered a foot contusion?
It didn't keep him out.
It didn't, but my point being, I don't know. He did that during a warm-up.
Springy and sprongy.
He's very sprongy. You heard it here first, folks. I feel confident in my Javonte Williams take.
Yeah.
What is it currently?
I think it'll be by the end of the season. I think it's a 70-30 split.
What is it right now, you think, though? Week one,
50-50 to 55-45. I think Williams will barely edge out Gordon in terms of total touches, or it'll be even. But I bet week 18 it's 70-30.
No, I'm just stirring the pot here. I agree with you, Zach.
No.
I totally agree with Zach. Okay. I am not the running back guy that's like, oh yeah, old running back. So it's just never been my thing. I think history tells you that it's best to bet against them.
Look at the top 32 most productive running backs last year. Melvin Gordon was the oldest. What does that tell you? He's an outlier already, and it's great. And I think he'll continue to be an outlier, at least for the start of the season. But he's an outlier, and that cliff, we don't know when it's going to happen, but it's.
At least you admitted it was an outlier.
And Mike Boone looks good. He's going to be sprinkled in.
Joey's been having a little bit of a habit to go ahead and point out how Boone could potentially take those snaps that Melvin Gordon is already getting.
I don't know about all that.
Well,
but I think he could have. I think he could have. All right. Here at this Let's Talk Broncos.
Perhaps we'll contemplate the Broncos.
Yeah, we're gonna perhaps we talk about the Broncos today.
Pontificate, ponder.
We might ponder the Broncos.
LPB.
Let's ponder the Broncos. It's crazy.
Anyways, you were saying about that take.
I think that just Boone could I think Boone is talented enough to have let Melvin Gordon walk. Maybe you give Javonte even more of carries. Maybe it's not 55, 45, 50, 50 out the gate. Okay. Maybe you're just Javonte Williams 70%, Mike Boone 30%. But I think that would have done the trick.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's move on over to the other side of the ball with Defensive Player of the Year. Guys, we might have been unanimous again. I can't remember.
No.
Tell me. Oh, okay, good. Who was your choice?
You and I both went with Patrick Surtain II, and I think I don't know. I see both sides of this one. Joey went with a different position, a position that normally wins this type of award. I would have gone with a different player. I would have gone with a different player at that position, though. But yeah, Patrick Surtain is going to be the best player on this defense. I think he could emerge as one of, if not the best defensive players in the. Oh, Aaron Donald plays football still. But the second best defensive player in the league, the best in the non. I am bold on Patrick Surtain this year.
Beats out Parsons.
That's I love Patrick Surtain, but that's
I know it's red hot. I know it's red hot.
That's a lot.
I am buying the stock. I think he could be the number 1 corner in the league this year, and I think Jalen Ramsey's the second best defensive player.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Dr. Nighthawk said, "Roll Tide."
Oh yeah, she's a fucking Alabama fan. That's disgusting.
Joey, who did you pick?
I went with Randy Gregory. I love Randy Gregory.
I can tell.
He has so quickly become. I haven't even seen him play on the Broncos yet, and I
would go Bradley Chubb over Randy Gregory.
Wow, I think Randy Gregory, from what we've seen last year, he looked better than Bradley Chubb did ever.
But I think there's even more consistency concerns with Gregory than Chubb.
I don't really think so. I thought every single snap I watched from Randy Gregory
played more than 460 snaps in a season. Actually, he's never played 460 snaps in a season.
I can't believe
457 is his max.
Arguing injuries when we're talking about Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb.
Right.
Both guys are injured.
Bradley Chubb has played 2 full seasons.
And
Randy Gregory never has.
And
Gregory never has, not once.
But the point here is we're talking about a guy
He's
that
played
played
half
2
a
full
season
seasons, and then all the rest of them no. Like, they're both injured at the end of the day.
All the rest of them is 2 others.
Okay, so when's the last time Bradley Chubb had a really good season? Go back in time.
2021. Or 2020, sorry.
Yeah, we're entering 2022, my man.
That's 2 years ago. Randy Gregory has never had has not had a full good season. He was good for half a season last year.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
That's true.
No.
The second half of last year, he was not that great.
If you're going to go look at the stats, I agree with you. Go watch the game tape. I watched those games.
The game tape says the same thing. He
No,
is a different player in the second half of last year.
Go watch the tape.
Yeah.
Do you even know ball, bro?
He is the same player in the second, or not the same. He is a different player in the second half of the season.
I completely disagree.
Coming back from that injury.
I completely disagree. Randy Gregory was athletic at the end. He was athletic at the beginning. I thought he looked good the entire season, honestly.
I don't think he played at that same level when he came back from the injury. I do not think he was the same player.
I thought Randy Gregory was awesome. The entire year. Maybe it was like a step down, but I don't think I would have still signed the Randy Gregory at the end of the season. I still would have signed him. He'd still looked good to me. I don't think it was like a poor performance.
The last time Bradley Chubb was healthy, he is top 9 in both pass rush win rate and pressures. Like, that's not nothing. That's solid pass rush production. He's also proven as a solid run defender. I think the nature of his injuries are also, I don't know, the ACL one is soft tissue, but the other one was like a weird bone spur deal. And then he had like the bone floating around in his foot for the season. And like, I don't know. He seems back and better than ever. And I feel a little safer with that one. I do like Randy Gregory. These 2 were my number 2 and number 3 picks. I was torn between them. Looking back on Bradley Chubb's 2021 season and like how sneaky good it was, or 2020 season rather, and how sneaky good it was in the year when the NFL just decided to allow every offensive tackle to get away with holding all the time. I don't know. That stands out to me. And I think both players have big consistency problems. I think Gregory's for me are a little more concerning because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen him play a full season. We've seen Chubb do that twice.
Do either of them play 17 games?
No.
Yes. I think at least one of them will. I don't know which one, but I think at least one of them will.
Okay.
Odds tell me no. I don't think so.
But
I think Randy Gregory's stats at the end of the day, and that's like if there would be an award for Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of it would be stat based. Patrick Surtain may not even get thrown at. If he's the second best player in football, he's not even gonna get thrown.
I like this. If it was an award, but it's not an award, so we don't have to play the Broncos Defensive Player of the Year narrative award tends to play out this way.
we're giving awards.
I know, but who's the Defensive Player of the Year? We don't have to do it the same way the NFL Defensive Player of the Year gets handed out.
Picked mine.
Too bad. Patrick Surtain II, better defensive player. He's the Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely better defensive player. I will say honorable mention is probably going to have to go to Justin Simmons as well. I did pick Patrick Surtain, but I think Justin Simmons could have his first team All-Pro year.
I love that pick because I think to Joey's point, Surtain won't get thrown at a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if like a lot of the turnovers ended up getting funneled towards Simmons, and we see Simmons have a great year.
Simmons' stats are probably going to look a lot better, but I think that's just going to qualify Surtain being an absolute shutdown, lockout, lights off.
Surtain's going to be awesome, by the way. At the end of the year, I would think that he's the best. So if we're judging
So
off
why
of the
is it
scale that
considered a
you
dark
did,
horse across
I would
the
think
league?
that if it's off their scale, I was thinking of it like traditionally, this is how they hand out awards.
No,
I'm
that's fair.
going Randy Gregory.
I'm debating a little dirty. Like,
And then if it were,
It's not even a competition.
if
We're
it
just
were,
choosing.
if we were just picking, if this said, like, I guess the way I would have interpreted it was just like best player on the Broncos defense, it for sure would have been Patrick Surtain.
Sure, I got
Yeah.
you. Yeah. No,
No,
that makes
that's
sense.
all fair.
I support all of it. You guys are fantastic. Let's talk about an interesting class of athletes here in Rookie of the Year. Tell me, who'd y'all go with?
Okay,
Joey,
this
go
one
first.
was tough for me because I think in a perfect world, none of these rookies play a lot, like meaningful snaps. I think the only one that you could really say is Montrell Washington with the punt and kick returning. These other guys, I wouldn't want to see much on the field. Like if they're playing a lot of, they have a lot of playing time, something went wrong, like there's an injuries or something happened.
Something fell apart.
But so I went with Nick Benito. I think he's just the earliest draft pick. I think he's really good at one specific trait. I don't think I can say that for many of the other rookies. They're like, show promise here, show promise there. I think Nick Benito's really good at one thing already out the gate. So if I had to throw Nick Benito in on the field in a 3rd and long, 3rd and 10, and said, go get the quarterback, I feel pretty good with it. So I went with Nick Benito.
Yeah, mine is out there. And it's a little preview of, we're doing bold predictions tomorrow, as we hinted at earlier. It's a little preview of one of my spiciest bold predictions. I think the best rookie on the Broncos this year is going to be Jalen Virgil.
That's
And
bold.
I think it is spicy, definitely, for an undrafted free agent. But I think that talking about Benito and like, oh, well, none of these rookies are probably going to play unless injuries happen. There's already been injuries in one spot, and that's early down slot receiver. The Broncos need an early down slot receiver. It's not going to be Tim Patrick. He's injured. It's not going to be Greg Dulcich. Those are, I think, the 2 logical picks for that role, and they're both gone. Albert O really struggled at blocking in the preseason. It might still be him. I think there's a good chance it ends up being Jalen Virgil. When you look at his size, his strength, his blocking ability, and his vertical field stretching, I think the Broncos, considering Zach is as spicy as vanilla. That's good, my dog. But I think the Broncos are going to want to keep a vertical field stretcher on the field, considering Russell Wilson's strengths as a quarterback and what he does best. So I think Jalen Virgil is going to see a lot of playing time on early downs. I think more than you would expect from a UDFA. I'm buying in. And before you're like, oh, a UDFA like receiver getting these snaps, they were already carving out an offensive role for Brandon Johnson before he got injured. And he was also probably a guy they were going to turn to be this early down slot receiver thanks to his blocking ability.
Why wasn't
everyone
Seth
has
Williams?
been dropping like flies?
Because Jalen Virgil's just that good.
Why wasn't it Seth Williams? I mean, that's a good question. I guess we can't really answer. I think because Virgil's a better player.
Yeah.
But like we can't really answer that. The point is the Broncos are already telling you it's not Seth Williams. He's not on the roster. You know who is? Jalen Virgil. I know this is a hot take. Congratulations to Virgil on the baby too. I think he's going to be the best rookie on this team. I think he's going to see a lot of play. I think he's going to be a feel-good story around the league. And we've seen it happen before in Denver. Philip Lindsay would have been the rookie of the year in that class.
So is this
for the
something
Broncos.
you pick because the coaches are doing that, or would you put Jalen Virgil out there in that role? Do you feel comfortable with that? Or would you throw another receiver in there for him?
I think you gotta play Jalen Virgil. Because who are you going to instead early down slot? I don't think it's Jerry Jeudy because he doesn't have the blocking ability. And I think you're limiting his overall effectiveness. I think Judy's best utilization is going to be on the outside. KJ Hamler, you're not asking him to block from the slot on early downs. I think the same goes for Montrell. Maybe it's Tyree Cleveland. That would worry me a bit, but he didn't have any playing time in the preseason. Yeah. So once again, I think you're left with like Albert O or Jalen Virgil. And I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be Jalen Virgil because of what he brings as a field stretcher, and I think what he can bring as a blocker.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I don't want to go into Albert O conversation, but the fact that he was playing so late in the preseason that one time, I still haven't really cracked the case on that.
One explanation I liked, and I heard Nate Tice say it, was just he's a guy that's new to football, and he was kind of interpreting Hackett's post-game quotes that he's a guy who's new to football, and he just kind of needs those reps was kind of the reasoning he was thinking, but definitely suspicious. I think a lot of it has to do with his apparent regression as a blocker. Who's your rookie of the year?
Regression. I just wanted to point out real quick, Frankie Abbott said Mathis is the correct answer. So he's unhappy with your choices.
He's going to go in after someone gets injured, and he's probably going to get torched a lot. That's not rookie of the year material, Frankie.
Really?
Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I guess I
really like Mathis, but after what we saw,
him.
I did love him. But then after what we saw in the preseason, I think it's clear he's not ready. I'm excited for 2023. I would not feel great throwing him like if Ronald Darby gets injured, being like, here you go, kid. Get him. I would be worried about.
Listen,
that.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Fair. You asked me who mine was. I went with another feel-good story in Montreal, Washington. Didn't think he was going to get drafted. I think that he has already carved out a tremendous role on the Broncos, and I think he's just going to take advantage of that opportunity that's been thrown at him and make the most of it, which I would think is pretty beneficial given special teams play. Being on
I like this answer specifically because he's the guy that already has a carved out role. There's not another guy on the team like that.
Like he's already been presented.
That is his job.
He's been the best looking rookie so far. So I think like if we were handing out this for the preseason, I think or the preseason / training camp, it'd have to be Montreal, Washington. So I think it's a good horse to bet on. I did want to respond to Nighthawk's comment really quick because she's coming in with her Judy thing. Nighthawk, Judy's not a rookie. Get it together.
She's, granted, she's new here. She's here with the pod. She's now a friend of the show.
Honestly, all things considered, it's impressive she can pull up the stream on YouTube. So I give her a ribbon for that.
That all because she called you as spicy as vanilla. I see how this show's going.
That's not all. She is meaner to me than anyone.
Oh, that's all. Meaner to you than anybody.
Than anyone.
Even more so than myself.
Yeah, no, she's better than you at it.
Nighthawk, your chair is open. I am keeping it warm. Whenever you make it down to studio, you can go ahead and take it from me.
Yeah, if you're ever sick, we'll have her fill in to keep the spiciness. Sorry, Frankie. I just had to dunk on you a little bit. I love you. Frankie says, all right, well, now you're down a viewer. Congratulations. Frankie, we love you. Don't abandon us.
Catching strays. She said, no, you mentioned him earlier. You're late. So way to go, Zach. Causing trouble for no apparent reason.
I just want to be mean to Nighthawk.
Okay, see, this is what we're talking about. You claim that you're not just
back. I said back.
Randomly mean to people.
Oh, the Nighthawk instigates it 100% of the time.
Oh, I was talking about me. Nighthawk's on her own. She can handle herself.
Yeah, Throwback Thursday. I remember when all of Zach's followers used to say he was the nicest guy on Twitter. I vividly remember all this.
Oh my god, that Seeger's kid is amazing.
Yeah. Well, normally I am nice, but sometimes I get like annoyed.
Literally, Ryan Edwards has gone out of his way to tell you to be nice to me.
Well, because he doesn't know you have gaslighted him into thinking I'm the abusive one when clearly you're the abusive one.
I don't know what you're talking about. Zach tried swing and a miss. There we go. Zach versus Nighthawk pay-per-view. Yeah, we'll sell tickets to that one. We'll make sure to roll that out next week. All right, guys. Breakout star for this upcoming season. I'm interested to hear what you guys picked. Talk to me about it.
Let's go, Joey, get Nighthawk back on our side really quick.
Yeah, I'm going Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is a clear answer here for me. I think the guy's extremely talented. I've been on this Jerry Jeudy train for a little bit now. He's one of them, like, extremely talented player. When you're talking about route running and creativity, just like an exotic route runner, somewhere it's hard to game plan for because there's not a lot of guys that run routes like him. Even like just technically, it's just not. It's different. There's a few of those guys. Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper's another example of somebody like that. Jerry Jeudy is one. So I really like Jerry Jeudy. I think it's the breakout year. There's not a lot of competition from him on the team. I think that he's that clear number 2 guy. And I just think with a better quarterback, you're going to see better wide receiver play.
But with Tim Patrick in, he would have been the clear number 3 guy.
I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting. I think he would have ended up being the number 3 guy just because of that Tim Patrick role we were kind of just talking about in the last bit. But I think it's very possible. I kind of think he could be like Russell Wilson's next Doug Baldwin, maybe. Like you put him in that outside role, ask him to. I think it's a proof of concept because so much talk has been about Jeudy and Wilson and how they might not be the best mesh together. And I think that past shows that they can mesh really, or Wilson can mesh really well with that type of receiver at least.
Who'd you go with?
I'm still concerned about Jerry Jeudy, but I like the pick. I went with Caden Stearns. This one,
that's crazy.
Let's go.
Let's start here. We know the Broncos are going to be playing a ton of dime this year, and when they're in dime, I think Caden Stearns is that first one they're calling up because they're not calling up saying Bass, I know he's off the roster now, or Darius Butler or whatever. I don't think they're calling up him to play opposite K1 Williams. I think they're looking to one of the safeties, and I think it'll be Caden Stearns ahead of him. And I just thought Caden Stearns played really, really well again in the preseason, just seeing like his tackling ability, his physicality as a safety, and also his ability to cover. I think he's just a do-it-all safety. He looks like a younger Justin Simmons to me. Like I feel like the Broncos somehow have like two of the like most all Caden Stearns isn't there yet, but I think he has the potential to be that like next.
I mean,
really
you're
gifted
walking
all
back
around safety.
another point that you had that he'd be that star.
I'm getting there. Calm your shit. Fucking wait a second. Patience is a virtue. He is going to take that starting job from Kareem Jackson before the end of the season. Just like we saw in week 4 with Kareem Jackson getting burnt by Marquise Brown and the Ravens, and then in week 5 getting burnt by Henry Ruggs and the Raiders.
Yeah.
I remember Henry Ruggs. Just absolutely getting torched. I think it's going to happen again. I know some members of the Broncos defense stood on the table for Kareem Jackson and was like, one more year with Kareem, we got to run it back. And they're like, hey, as long as he's looking good, we're down to try that. I think there's going to be a point where it's not looking good anymore. And they're like, okay, the run it back with Kareem idea was cute, but we need the best players on the field. And I think Caden's going to be the best player, and he's going to break. People aren't going to notice the drop off. I think it's going to be like, dang, we are killing it.
Frankie, the hostility of the podcast keeps me coming back. That is exactly what we're aiming for here. I didn't know that Zach was going to snap at me. I didn't think you were going to get to that point. I just wanted to point it out that, you know, there's a reason for the madness, and Kareem Jackson is exactly where he's supposed to be right now.
No, he's not. What?
Currently,
no.
right this very second, yes, he is.
So is there like a
We'll
reason why you think the Broncos are playing Kareem in front of Caden?
I think it's what I said. I think it was important to some defensive leaders in the locker room.
Interesting.
All right.
I don't mind that.
Don't mind it.
But I think there's a wave of youth coming soon.
So you think
who's your breakout star though? Brie?
My breakout star is probably going to have to be KJ Hamler, just because I know we're a little bit.
I love it.
There's a little bit of hesitation. I know Joey and I have had this conversation before of maybe it's not this year where we see the most of a comeback. That perhaps it's 80 to 90% of KJ Hamler, to which Zach has often said, you know, that's a hell of a lot better than what you're getting out of a lot of other wide receivers, right? Mm-hmm. So that health, that speed, and leading into next year.
Not Jalen Virgil. Wow. Zach is coming through with the spicy steaks.
I think if we looked at I think if we did math, I think if we did math on the 40-yard dash times, I think I'm just like mathematically accurate, but like that's,
I don't know,
90% of KJ Hamler's 40 time against 90% of Virgil's
40s.
Oh, I guess maybe across the board. But if you were to 90% that RAS score, like Virgil's a 9.3 guy on the RAS. So freaky. Like even if KJ Hamler was in 100, he'd drop below it.
Yeah, a lot of that has to go with like height and weight as well, though.
Height and weight's important.
He's kind of got a crazy.
I mean, not for what I'm asking from KJ Hamler.
Fair. Right. I'm not going to measure his hand size and be like, yeah, that's comparative to what I'm going to see out of him speed wise.
There are certain things KJ does better than Jalen, and certain things I think Jalen does better than KJ.
All right, that's fair.
I just wanted to whisper Jalen Virgil into the microphone.
Yeah, you did that really nicely. I'm glad that that's a thing. But anyways, so as far as
oh my gosh, no one's gonna be able to hear that.
No, I can.
No, if you guys can hear it in your headphones, then I think it's gonna be there.
Everyone at home, chime in the chat. Tell me if you can hear Zach whispering weird.
Can you hear my sultry whispers?
And it wasn't even sultry. It was like, you know, when you have a poltergeist in your house and it's just whispering from down the hall.
No, I don't. I don't.
Ghost stories coming up on Let's Talk Broncos. LTB now stands for Let's Talk Boo. No.
Banshees.
Let's talk banshees. Absolutely. I'm 100% it. Let's talk ghouls.
I just hear Zach's annoying voice says Nighthawk.
There's also a question from Ty in the chat. Any chance Javonte Williams becomes the breakout star?
To me, he's already broken out. I think I guess you could say he could take it to another level. I guess that was kind of what I was alluding to earlier in the show, but I think like we've seen he's a top end talent. And so that's why I didn't consider him for that.
We have a new commenter. Gregory Pierce says, those are the whispers in my nightmares, for fuck's sake.
I'm sorry, Gregory, you're a new listener. I'll knock it off. Stick around.
Make
please.
sure you subscribe. We'd love to have you join us. He'll never
Gregory,
do
I'll
that
never
again.
whisper again. Gregory. Cute dog.
Fantastic. Zach is a classic rasshole. Wow.
But
our comments are.
I thought Frankie was one of your
love our
shooters, and
community.
he's just coming for you. So that's fantastic.
He is. We had some infighting, but Frankie's a real one. We'll ride or die when it's
Frankie
time.
also chose Giannis for MVP.
That was crazy.
That was not okay. So we're going to move on from that and go with the Broncos' final record prediction. What will the Broncos' final record be? Gentlemen, give me your picks.
I got 10-7. And then honestly, I could have done 9-8, but I'm on the Let's Talk Broncos podcast, and I'm pandering, so I'm going to go 10-7.
9-8 though.
I don't think that's out of the possibility. I think the AFC West
is possible. The whole AFC is brutal.
Yeah, the whole AFC is absolutely insane. That 9-8 could get you in the playoffs. It really could in this division, just because the AFC West teams, like we can sit here and talk about the Chiefs should be good, the Chargers should be good, the Raiders should be competitive, right? And
that was funny.
And,
what about their ceiling?
Yeah.
I looked at Zach. I knew something was coming immediately. Anyways, these teams should beat up on each other. They play 6 of those games. They're going to be against it's going to be a battle, and you're going to get some losses in there that you otherwise wouldn't have if you were in a weaker division. So I don't think it's out of the possibility. For me, it's about the Broncos sneaking into the playoffs this year. I don't really care all this. I think the Broncos are going to start slower than they're going to end down the stretch. I think down the stretch is when you're going to see the Broncos' best football. And as we saw last year, I don't think any three of us would sit here and say, oh, yeah, the Bengals were the best team out of the AFC West. No, the NFL is a one-game playoff for each series, and anyone can win once you're in. It's like we see it all the time in football. So it's just about getting in the playoffs, and the Broncos are on a hot streak. Who knows? Who knows what happens after they get in?
Okay, question for you. Where do they get eliminated?
Damn. I just went on that whole tangent. I don't know if I want to change it now. This one's really tough because of what I just said.
They sneak into the playoffs.
They sneak into the playoffs. I think a wild card team. And
takes them out, just snipes them.
It depends. It's all about matchup. That's so hard to predict.
Yeah, who's the matchup?
That's a great question.
Don't worry about the match. It's just, what kind of team do you think they are? Is this a team? Is this a top 8 team? Is this a top 4 team? Is this a top 6?
I'll say they're max, or I'm not going to say they're max either, but I would say most likely they're going to. You
predicted they're losing in the wild card round. I'm not letting you move off that hot take garbage.
But now I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm not so sure. But okay, I'll roll with it. Yeah, pessimistic. The Broncos will lose in the wild card,
and it's fine because we'll bounce you out with the optimism, because I know Bree and I both have the Denver Broncos going 11-6.
Oh, that one's a battle in my head. I don't know.
11-6 and losing in the divisional round. So we have them losing or winning 2 more games.
We matched, I think, on those.
We did.
Okay. It's been 11-6 since the start, and I don't think I've seen enough to change that. If anything, it's made me more optimistic. I do think they make it a little bit later than a first-round loss. That's for sure. Dr. Nighthawk is over here with a first-round loss. I don't know who
this is negative.
Cheer for. But
I agree.
Ty's saying 11-6, but lose in the wild card. That would be heartbreaking.
No, look at Look at the people in the comments being realistic. This is crazy.
The people lost in 6 to the Raptors, says Frankie. That's a good.
That's 6 to the Raptors.
Yeah, no, that's nice. He also wants to know, what are your prediction for records against the division?
Ooh,
Nighthawk asked the same thing. That's a good question. I'm gonna say,
I think they go at least 1-1 against all the teams.
I'll say 4-2. I think they sweep the Raiders. Go 1-1 in the other ones.
I'm going
3-3 or 4.
3-3.
3-3 feels good. 3-3, 4-2.
I definitely think this is the year that they best the Kansas City Chiefs, at least in the home game.
Man, every AFC West team other than the Broncos last year, at least 3-3. One of them was 4-2. The Denver Broncos last 2 years, 2-10.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. 1-5 each of the last 2 seasons. They have to
You're
turn
not
that
going to be a good football team doing that.
around.
But bad quarterback play was at the top of
Totally
that.
is. Totally is.
Let's throw up Bree and Joey's Broncos awards real quick.
Okay.
As you can see, they're giving every single award to Josh McDaniels, surprisingly. I'm going Javonte Williams. So you can see my awards. As you can see, they are giving every single award to Josh McDaniels because his ceiling is just so high. No, but in seriousness, here's our recap of all the Let's Talk Broncos predictions.
Ridiculous. Hey, this is like, my gosh, Zach has a way of taking you out of context, man.
Yeah, seriously. First of all, created a fight where there didn't need to be one. Hey, Karen Price,
those
if
were the
you're
answers
watching,
you
don't
guys
worry.
responded. I asked for your award predictions, and I was like, guys, you can't say Josh McDaniels for every single one. Josh McDaniels for rookie of the year, like, kind of makes sense because he's like a rookie coach, but Josh McDaniels for defensive player of the year just could not make less sense. You guys have to pick someone else.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, hold on. But it's ceiling.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean it's expectations.
Yeah.
Like, we were just so expressive.
He has the ceiling of being a great
And for
defensive player.
those that are confused about what we're talking about, go listen to the
Listen
last
to
pod. It's fun.
last
Or
night's pod.
go catch the highlights because they're posted over on Twitter too, where you can see about 1 minute and 12 seconds of some of the funniest content you're gonna catch from the Let's Talk Broncos. I almost said I don't even know what I went with.
So let's talk Broncos.
Let's on Broncos.
It's that time.
It's that time. It's that time. It's that time.
Joey's question of the
The
day.
fact that you do that without laughing makes me laugh.
Are you guys ready?
Brought to you
No.
by Joe's Crab Shack.
You ready? You ready? Joe's Crab Shack is great. No, we're not. No free sponsors. Anyways,
That's talking to you, Joe's Crab Shack.
yeah, no.
You know who you are in our DMs.
Yeah, actually, matter of fact, don't go to
Hit our
Joe's.
line.
Yeah,
Matter
quit DMing me.
of
Unless you're
fact, don't go
sponsoring.
to Joe's Crab Shack until they hit us up. Anyways, okay, here's my question. Who is the Broncos' winningest coach by winning percentage?
By percentage.
By percentage.
Joey's doing something crazy here.
Why can't I think of Dan Reeves?
I'm gonna go Red. I don't think it's Mike Shanahan because that's the obvious answer. I'm gonna go Red Miller.
Who do you have?
Dan Reeves.
Oh, wait. Can I guess the second one really quick?
Sure.
Vance
Gary
Joseph.
Kubiak. Oh, dang.
Second.
Josh
Who is it?
McDaniels.
Who is it?
John Fox.
What? Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's 69.
I forgot about him. He's very forgettable. It's
Yeah.
like
It's
just
like
a
a blip.
gray spot.
John
in my
Fox
memory.
is the winningest coach by winning percentage in
Yeah.
Broncos history, winning 69% of his games, 49 wins to 22 losses.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it was impressive. I mean, obviously, a lot of it is on Peyton Manning and some of the
A lot of it. A lot of it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, some of it has to do with Peyton.
But
fucking
Fox's prude game plans, I think, are probably at least 40%
But
responsible.
I thought it was interesting because it's just a guy you wouldn't have thought.
No, agree. That's a fantastic one.
That was
Good
a really
job,
good question,
Joey.
Thank you.
I'll give you a high five for that one. There we go. Fantastic. I just want to thank everyone who tuned in today for the Let's Talk Broncos live podcast. As always, just want to thank everyone who was in the chat because that was a tremendous time. We had some new people listening. If you're listening right now and you liked what you heard, maybe you didn't and you want to come back and see if it improved any, go ahead and subscribe, like the stream. Follow us on Facebook. You're probably watching on Mile High Sports. If not, jump over to the YouTube stream, subscribe over there. Or if you're a Twitter guy or gal, you can go ahead and jump over there. Follow us. Don't suggest following us on Twitter, though. It's kind of a dumpster fire, but it's fun if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not a great promo.
I don't know how to sell myself.
You guys got to follow us on Twitter. You get to see all the fights behind that are like kind of behind the scenes, all the fights off the podcast. It's like
Yeah.
these are important for the WWE storyline. You got to be on Twitter. You're not going to know.
Did you just
all the
reference
issues.
wrestling
Yeah,
to get
that
on
was
my
for
good
you.
side? Thank you. I'm sending this one to Damari Mathis. Fantastic. Thank you. Frankie, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Frankie. Let's get everyone to hate me.
Let's get everyone to spite watch the pod. Views are views. Joey, where can everyone find your work?
Yeah, everyone, you can go follow me at JR Drafts. Find my writing at Mile High Sports.
From my writing on Mile High Sports, Twitter at Zach_Seegers.
Fantastic. You can find me over on Twitter at BreeMaestis303. You can also catch me on the Fan Cave 1 to 2 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays, and every single weekday with the Let's Talk Broncos crew. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go Broncos.
That's right.
Let's ride.
That's right.
That's right.